The morning fog rolled thick across Pine Valley, wrapping the scattered farmhouses in its cool embrace. Inside the Rusty Spoon diner, Jack Miller adjusted the tactical collar on his German Shepherd Shadow, a piece of equipment that seemed out of place on what most locals assumed was just another farm dog. The morning light painted the worn floorboards in gentle strokes, while the scent of fresh coffee and bacon filled the air. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed. Because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Dawn broke over the sleepy town of Pine Creek, Montana, as Jack Miller nursed his morning coffee in his usual corner booth at the Rusty Spoon diner. His weathered hands, marked by years of working the soil, wrapped around the ceramic mug, while Shadow lay alert at his feet. The dog's ears twitched at every sound, dark eyes constantly scanning both the front entrance and the back door, a habit that would have seemed peculiar for an ordinary farm dog. The diner's owner, Betty Thompson, moved with practiced ease. Behind the counter, her grey hair tucked beneath a faded red bandana. Her hands might have been gentle with the coffee pot, but the way she watched Shadow told a different story. She knew there was more to this particular German Shepherd than met the eye. Through the windows, the first rays of sunlight caught the hand-painted sign of Miller Family Farms, where Jack had taken over after his mother's retirement 2 seasons ago. Local farmers viewed Jack as just another struggling soul in a region where corporate agriculture threatened to swallow family farms whole. None of them suspected that the quiet man in the corner booth had once been a Special Forces K-9 handler, or that Shadow had been his partner through 3 tours of duty. The silver tag on Shadow's collar, appearing ordinary to most, actually marked them as members of an elite K-9 unit that specialized in counter-terrorism operations. Regular customers filtered in as the morning progressed. Old Pete Wilson, with his creaky hip and endless stories about the local logging industry's heyday, settled into his usual spot by the window. Mary Sullivan, the elementary school principal, graded papers at her table while sneaking bits of bacon to Shadow, unaware of how those same jaws had once taken down high-value targets in places she couldn't pronounce. Dr. James Parker, the local veterinarian, discussed cattle prices with weather-beaten ranchers who'd seen too many hard winters. The diner's ceiling fan spun lazily overhead, its wooden blades casting rotating shadows across the sun-bleached floorboards. Through the windows decorated with paper snowflakes from last winter, Jack watched Main Street come to life with familiar precision. Tom Mitchell unlocked his hardware store at exactly 7:15 a.m., his keys jingling a morning melody. Young Andy Cooper delivered newspapers from his battered blue bicycle, the morning editions landing with soft thuds on wooden porches. Mrs. Henderson swept her bakery's front step with practiced strokes, pausing occasionally to wave at early risers. Jack's fingers unconsciously traced the edge of his coffee mug, his mind drifting to the titanium box buried beneath his barn's floorboards. Inside lay their service medals, classified mission reports, and a list of names, operators who'd worked with Shadow's specialized K-9 unit in situations too sensitive for official records. Only 12 dogs had ever completed the elite training program, and fewer still had survived to retire. Betty's movements behind the counter carried their own weight of understanding. She'd served in the army herself, though she never spoke of it. She recognized the way Shadow moved, the same fluid efficiency she'd seen in military working dogs during her time at Fort Bragg. The morning light streaming through the painted windows cast patterns across the worn wooden floor, creating a dance of light and shadow that reminded Jack of nights spent training in hidden facilities, where his K-9 partner had learned to become something far more than just a military working dog. Through the diner's windows, Jack noticed Tommy Rogers, practicing his guitar in the music store across the street. The young musician's dedication brought a small smile to his face, reminding him of simpler times before he and Shadow had been recruited for special operations. The gentle notes floated across the morning air, a stark contrast to the memories of midnight raids and silent signals that still haunted both man and dog. Sheriff Anderson walked his morning route, his badge catching the sunlight as he nodded to shopkeepers and early risers, unaware that the quiet farmer and his dog in Betty's diner had more tactical experience than his entire department combined. The peaceful rhythm of small-town life filled the Rusty Spoon Diner like a familiar song, each patron adding their own note to the melody. The coffee in Jack's cup had cooled to the perfect drinking temperature when the distant rumble of high performance engines shattered the morning calm. His hand stilled on the ceramic mug while Shadow's ears perked up, both of them counting the approaching vehicles through force of habit. 3, maybe 4, all moving too fast for local traffic. Betty paused in her work, her eyes meeting Jack's briefly. They both recognized the sound of trouble approaching. Through the painted windows, the sun cast long shadows across the worn wooden floor, and somewhere in the distance, a red-tailed hawk's cry pierced the morning air. Shadow's muscles tensed imperceptibly beneath his thick fur, combat instincts from 1,000 missions stirring like a sleeping giant about to wake. Both dog and handler knew their peaceful morning was about to take an unexpected turn. 3 black Escalades with darkened windows and custom grills pulled into the diner's gravel parking lot, their oversized tires kicking up clouds that dimmed the morning sunlight. The vehicles moved with calculated precision, positioning themselves in a formation that Jack recognized from his military days. A tactical arrangement designed to control all exit points. Betty's hands stilled on her coffee pot, her weathered fingers tightening almost imperceptibly around the handle. Through the dust-streaked windows, Jack counted 8 figures emerging from the vehicles, their movements carrying the coordinated efficiency of private military contractors. Leading them was Alexander Ace Blackwood himself, CEO of Black River Security Solutions, and notorious for his company's aggressive acquisition of specialized military assets. Blackwood cut an imposing figure in his custom-tailored charcoal suit and tactical boots, his silver-streaked hair styled to project corporate authority, while his posture betrayed his special forces background. A custom titanium watch glinted on his wrist, its face displaying multiple time zones, a habit from coordinating international operations. His reputation in certain circles spoke of a man who believed anything could be acquired for the right price or the right amount of pressure. 2 men flanked him, both wearing identical black suits despite the Montana morning heat. The first, Marcus "Ice" Coleman, was known in military circles as Blackwood's talent scout, his lean frame concealing the strength that had convinced 3 other retired K-9 handlers to join Black River's private forces. The second, Ryan "Razor" Walsh, moved with the fluid grace of a close-quarters combat specialist, his scarred knuckles and the slight bulge of a shoulder holster telling their own story about Black River's methods of persuasion. The remaining 5, men spread out with tactical discipline, their positions covering every potential exit. Jack's trained eye noted their formation, 2 by the main entrance, 1 covering the kitchen door, and 2 maintaining clear lines of sight to both his corner booth and the counter where Betty stood. Their business suits couldn't quite conceal their military-grade equipment. Encrypted radio earpieces, concealed plate carriers, and the distinctive outline of suppressed handguns. The morning light streaming through the diner's windows caught the dust motes stirred up by their arrival, creating an otherworldly atmosphere as Blackwood pushed through the door. The bell's cheerful jingle seemed jarringly out of place against the sudden tension that had descended over the room. Regular patrons fell silent, their coffee cups frozen halfway to their lips as they recognized the man whose private military company had been making headlines for its aggressive expansion into domestic operations. Shadow remained motionless under the table, but Jack could feel the subtle shift in his partner's energy, the combat-ready stillness that had served them through countless operations. The dog's muscles were coiled with practiced restraint, waiting for the silent commands that had guided them through situations far more dangerous than this. Blackwood's tactical boots moved soundlessly across the wooden floor as he approached. The diner's counter, each step measured and deliberate. His titanium watch caught the light, throwing metallic reflections across the walls like silent warnings. The morning sun, streaming through the painted windows, cast his shadow long across, the floor stretching toward Jack's booth like a reaching hand. Betty continued wiping down the counter with practiced calm, but Jack noticed how she'd positioned herself near the concealed shotgun mounted beneath the register, a habit from her own military days. The ceiling fans spun their lazy circles overhead, stirring the tension-thick air as Blackwood surveyed the diner with the cold calculation of someone accustomed to taking what he wanted. Through the windows, Jack could see the security team maintaining their positions, their hands never far from their concealed weapons. The usual morning traffic on Main Street had slowed to a crawl as locals recognized the Black River vehicles, their presence as subtle as storm clouds on a clear day. In the distance, Sheriff Anderson had paused his morning walk, his hand resting casually near his service weapon as he assessed the situation. The peaceful rhythm of Pine Creek's morning had transformed into something else entirely, like the moment when mountain air grows heavy before a thunderstorm. Blackwood's arrival marked more than just another business meeting. It was a declaration of intent, a challenge to the quiet life that Jack and Shadow had built for themselves after leaving the service. Betty moved along the counter with deliberate efficiency, but her dark eyes missed nothing. She'd seen that same alertness in Shadow's posture before, back when a group of drunk troublemakers had tried to start something in her diner. The dog had simply stood up, and something in his bearing, the same deadly grace she'd recognized from her time around military working dogs, had convinced the men to take their business elsewhere. Shadow's gaze remained fixed on Blackwood's team, his specialized training, allowing him to identify potential threats while maintaining the appearance of a calm farm dog. The titanium-reinforced canines that had once taken down high-value targets remained hidden behind relaxed lips, while the muscles capable of accelerating from rest to 30 mph in under 2 seconds stayed loose and ready. Blackwood's gaze swept across the Rusty Spoon diner with practiced authority before settling on Jack's corner booth. Something in Shadow's stillness must have triggered his tactical instincts. Years of special operations had taught him to recognize fellow operators. He moved toward the booth with deliberate steps, his custom boots marking each movement with subtle purpose. "Mr. Miller," Blackwood's voice carried the artificial warmth of a desert sun, "I was hoping to find you here. You're becoming quite difficult to reach through conventional channels." His titanium watch caught the morning light, throwing metallic reflections across the table's worn surface. Behind him, Coleman and Walsh adjusted their positions subtly, professional muscle preparing for any possibility. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Jack took another sip of his coffee, his movements unhurried and precise. Shadow remained motionless under the table, but his eyes tracked every minute shift in the positions of Blackwood's men. The tactical training that had made them the most successful handler canine team in their unit's history hummed just beneath the surface of their casual pose. "Conventional channels," Jack repeated softly, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had once commanded respect in classified operation briefings, "like the ones your company used with the Rodriguez family's retired K9. Or maybe like the channels that convinced Thompson's military dog to accidentally escape after they refused your offer." Blackwood's polished smile flickered for just a moment, like sunlight catching on a drawn blade. His security team shifted their weight almost imperceptibly, responding to the subtle change in their employer's demeanor. Through the diner's painted windows, The morning sun cast their shadows long across the floor like dark fingers reaching toward Jack's booth. "You seem remarkably well informed about other people's business dealings," Blackwood observed, his manicured nails drumming once against the wooden table, especially for someone who should be more concerned about their own situation. "The market for specialized agricultural products has been unpredictable lately, but our offer still stands." He let the words hang in the air like smoke. Betty moved behind the counter with practiced efficiency, but her dark eyes missed nothing. She remembered her own encounters with Black River Security Solutions, back when they first started approaching retired military handlers. The missing dogs, the convenient accidents, the generous offers that couldn't be refused, all legally clean, but carrying the stench of coercion that reminded her of darker operations during her service years. Jack's hand remained steady on his coffee cup, but his mind was calculating distances and angles with the precision that had made him a legend in the special operations community. 17 steps to the main entrance, where the first 2 guards stood, 12 to the kitchen door, where another waited, while the remaining 2 maintained their positions near the counter, their professional stance betraying extensive close-quarters combat training. "Tell me something interesting, Mr. Miller," Blackwood said, his voice dropping to a quiet timbre that had once commanded special operations teams across 3 continents. "How is it that a simple farmer can afford the kind of specialized gear I've noticed on your dog? That collar, for instance, military-grade tactical equipment, if I'm not mistaken. Not exactly standard issue for herding cattle." Jack felt Shadow's muscles tense slightly against his leg, the dog's combat instincts responding to the mounting tension. Through the diner's windows, he could see Main Street had grown unusually quiet, as if the whole town was holding its breath. Sheriff Anderson maintained his position outside, his hand never far from his weapon, though they both knew local law enforcement would be outmatched against Black River's private military contractors. Betty continued her work behind the counter, but her movements had taken on the precise quality that Jack recognized from seasoned operators. She'd been there the night Jack and Shadow had first arrived in Pine Creek, recognizing immediately what others had missed, the controlled grace that came from years of specialized military training. The ceiling fans spun their lazy circles. Overhead, stirring the tension-thick air as Blackwood leaned closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Let me be clear, Mr. Miller. The specialized K9 market is changing. The only question is whether that change happens with you profiting from it, or whether it happens the hard way." Jack felt the weight of Shadow's specialized collar against his leg, like a silent reminder. The dog's training had cost the military millions, years of specialized conditioning, enhanced capabilities, and classified protocols that made him far more than just a military working dog. The titanium-reinforced canines, the enhanced sensory training, the neural response conditioning. Shadow represented the pinnacle of military K9 development. Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as Blackwood's security team adjusted their positions with newfound wariness. The first 2 men had cleared their paths to the main entrance completely, while another maintained his angle toward the kitchen door. The remaining 2, the ones Jack had marked as close-quarters specialists, had shifted their weight forward, ready to move at a moment's notice. "You're not just some farmer with a retired service dog," Blackwood said, his voice dropping lower, the artificial warmth vanishing entirely. "The incident in Cedar Valley, the exposed operation in Thompson's Creek, the mysterious disappearance of evidence from our facility. That was you and your dog, wasn't it?" Jack remained still, but there was something different in his stillness now. Not the quiet of prey hiding from a predator, but the perfect readiness of a special operations veteran about to engage. Shadow's specialized training hummed beneath his calm exterior, years of classified missions and covert operations condensed into the space between heartbeats. Through the diner's windows, the morning sun painted patterns across both men's faces, briefly transforming them into figures from some ancient story of conflict between corporate greed and military honor. Betty watched from behind the counter, remembering her own days in service, recognizing the moment when a powerful man realizes he might have severely miscalculated his position. Your company's methods might work in cities where retired handlers have forgotten how to fight back, Jack said, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had once commanded elite canine units. But out here, we still remember the old ways of dealing with those who think money and force give them the right to take whatever they want. Blackwood's composure cracked slightly as he processed Jack's words, his titanium watch catching the morning light as he shifted position. Behind him, Coleman and Walsh exchanged glances, their professional assessment of the situation clearly changing. Through the diner's windows, the distant mountains stood silent, their peaks catching the early sun like ancient guardians watching over the valley. "You know what interests me about patterns, Mr. Blackwood?" Jack's voice carried the calm of desert nights, like the pattern of your company's shell corporations, Riverstone Holdings, Mountain Peak Securities, Valley Guardian LLC, all leading back to offshore accounts funding illegal canine breeding programs. We have accountants too, ones who know how to follow money trails through the shadows. The color drained from Blackwood's perfectly composed face as Jack spoke each company name. His manicured fingers stilled their drumming on the table, and the artificial confidence in his posture cracked like sun-baked clay. Through the diner's windows, his security team had begun shifting positions with renewed wariness, their professional assessment of the situation clearly evolving. "The most interesting files," Jack continued, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup with deliberate slowness, "are the communications between Black River and certain military officials. Particularly fascinating are the emails about handling acquisitions in Cedar Valley. The ones discussing which handlers to target, how to arrange accidents, how to ensure the right officials looked the other way." Betty maintained her work behind the counter, but her movements had taken on a new precision. She remembered the night Jack had first arrived in Pine Creek, how she'd recognized in him and Shadow the same controlled grace that marked all elite special operations teams. Now she watched as months of patient investigation began to bear fruit. "The most damning evidence," Jack continued, the ghost of a smile playing at his lips, "is the money trail leading to Colonel Harrison's private accounts. The deposits that always seem to coincide with the disappearance of specialized military canines. Captain Reynolds was particularly interested in those transactions." Blackwood's composure crumbled further as Jack spoke, his expensive suit suddenly seeming to hang heavy on his shoulders. The titanium watch no longer gleamed with predatory confidence, but seemed to pulse with a nervous energy as its wearer realized the depth of his miscalculation. "You're bluffing," Blackwood managed, but his voice lacked conviction. "Nobody could trace all that back to us. Nobody could prove what happened to Lieutenant Sarah Martinez," Jack interrupted softly, and Blackwood went very still. "The K-9 handler who had a mysterious car accident the night before. She was supposed to testify about your company's illegal breeding program." "Shadow and I have been very thorough in documenting everything, Mr. Blackwood. Every accident, every convenient death, every corrupted official." The morning light streaming through the painted windows cast patterns across both men's faces, briefly transforming them into figures from some ancient story of conflict between corporate greed and military honor. Sheriff Anderson watched from outside, his hand resting near his service weapon, though he knew this confrontation would be resolved by forces beyond traditional law enforcement. "So here's what's going to happen," Jack said, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had made him a legend in special operations. "Black River is going to cease all canine acquisition operations. You're going to start making restitution to the handlers you've hurt, because if you don't, If anything unfortunate happens to any retired military dog or their handler, everything we've gathered goes public. Captain Reynolds made sure of that. Blackwood's security team had begun moving with subtle purpose, their professional stillness giving way to something more focused. They were men who understood when a situation had become untenable, when the best course of action was strategic withdrawal rather than escalation. "The files are already distributed," Jack continued, his hand resting near Shadow's specialized collar. "Federal agencies, military investigators, international task forces, all waiting for a signal. Captain Reynolds taught me about fail-safes, about making sure justice prevails, even if something happens to those pursuing it." The ceiling fans spun their lazy circles overhead, stirring the tension-thick air as Blackwood's world continued to unravel thread by thread. The morning sun painted everything in sharp relief. The worn leather of the booth, the steam rising from coffee cups, the dust motes dancing in the air like tiny stars, each detail seeming to take on greater significance as power shifted irrevocably in the Rusty Spoon diner. "Let me be more specific," Jack continued, his voice dropping lower, but somehow carrying even more weight. "At this moment, military police are reviewing files detailing Black River's illegal canine breeding operations. They're particularly interested in the facility behind your training compound, the one containing evidence of your genetic modification program." Blackwood's composure cracked completely, like desert varnish splitting under intense heat. "You're lying," he whispered, but his voice carried more fear than conviction. "The files in the hidden server room behind your private office," Jack interrupted. "Specifically, the ones detailing your company's attempts to replicate the military's enhanced canine program. Captain Reynolds always said the powerful get careless when they think no one's watching." Through the diner's windows, Jack noticed Black River's security team exchanging subtle glances. The first two men had shifted their weight toward the exit, while the others maintained their positions, but with notably less aggressive intent. Shadow remained perfectly still under the table, but his muscles were coiled with combat-ready tension, prepared for any scenario his specialized training had prepared him for. "Your employees are already talking," Jack said, his voice carrying neither threat nor triumph, just the calm certainty of someone stating facts. "Amazing how quickly loyalty disappears when military investigators start offering immunity deals. Your head trainer in Cedar Valley was particularly helpful. It seems he kept his own records just in case." The morning sun continued its dance through the painted windows, creating patterns that seemed to move with lives of their own across the worn wooden floor. Each beam caught dust motes in the air, making them dance like tiny stars in the space. Between Jack and Blackwood, marking the moments as Black River's carefully constructed empire began to crumble. "But you know what the most interesting evidence is?" Jack asked, his voice dropping lower. "The genetic testing data. Captain Reynolds has a particular interest in how your company attempted to replicate the military's enhanced canine program. Every failed experiment, every illegal modification, every attempt to create your own version of dogs like Shadow, all documented, all verified, all ready to be released." Through the diner's windows, the distant mountains stood silent and unchanging, their peaks catching the morning light like ancient guardians watching over the valley. Those same mountains had sheltered many of Shadow's specialized training sessions, where Jack had learned that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from confrontation, but from building a case so solid that no amount of money or influence could tear it down. Blackwood's world continued to unravel as Jack's revelations echoed through the Rusty Spoon diner. The morning sun cast long shadows through the painted windows, and the ceiling fans spun their lazy circles overhead, stirring the tension-thick air like a coming storm. "Your lawyer's probably trying to reach you right now," Jack said, his voice carrying the calm of mountain nights. "I believe the military police are particularly interested in those encrypted files under Project Echo, the ones detailing your attempts to recreate Shadow's neural enhancement protocols. Blackwood's hand moved toward his jacket pocket, but froze as Shadow shifted slightly under the table, a barely perceptible movement that carried the weight of years of specialized combat training. "I wouldn't," Jack said softly. "Your security team are professionals. They understand the situation better than you do. Violence won't make those files disappear. It won't stop the military investigation. It won't undo months of evidence gathering." Through the diner's windows, Black River's security team had begun their subtle repositioning. The first man had already reached for his phone, likely contacting his real employers about the changing circumstances. The others maintained their positions, but with notably less aggressive intent. "You want to know something interesting about your security detail?" Jack asked, his hand resting casually near Shadow's specialized collar. "They're not actually yours. Captain Reynolds made sure of that weeks ago. Professional contractors are surprisingly open to better offers, especially when those offers come with immunity deals and evidence of illegal genetic experiments." Blackwood's head snapped around to stare at his team, seeing for the first time how they had positioned themselves not to protect him, but to contain him if necessary. The realization seemed to hit him like a physical blow, making him stagger slightly against the table. "Everything's coming apart," Jack continued, his voice carrying neither threat nor triumph. "Right now, your chief veterinarian in Thompson's Greek is sharing everything she knows about the failed genetic modifications. Your head of security in Cedar Valley is explaining how the K9 acquisitions were arranged. Even Colonel Harrison is looking to make a deal. It seems he doesn't fancy military prison at his age." Betty moved behind the counter with practiced efficiency, but her dark eyes missed nothing. She had seen this moment before, back during her service years, when carefully gathered evidence had finally brought down those who thought their money made them untouchable. Blackwood's phone buzzed, with a distinctive tone that made his face go even paler. Jack watched as he read the message, noting how his perfectly manicured hands trembled. "Military police just raided our main facility," Blackwood whispered, his voice barely audible. "They found the laboratory. Everything. Captain Reynolds taught me something about timing," Jack said, his fingers remaining relaxed on the table, "about how justice is all about choosing the perfect moment. We could have moved against you months ago, but we waited. Waited until every piece was in place. Every witness was ready. Every document was verified and distributed." The morning light painted patterns across the worn wooden floor, creating a dance of light and shadow that seemed to pulse with the mounting tension. Each beam caught the titanium gleam of Blackwood's watch, making it flash like a distress signal in the charged atmosphere. "Let me be absolutely clear," Jack said, his voice dropping lower, but somehow carrying even more weight. "Black River's illegal K9 program is finished. Your operation is being dismantled as we speak. Military police are moving through your organization like a flash flood through a dry canyon, and once that flood starts, there's no stopping it." Through the diner's windows, another freight train whistle echoed across the valley, its mournful sound carrying like a countdown to Black River's final moments. Betty's hand-painted wildflowers cast colored shadows across both men, their patterns shifting with each passing cloud, while Shadow maintained his combat-ready stillness beneath the table. Blackwood's polished facade had crumbled completely, leaving behind a man watching his illegal empire collapse in real time. His titanium watch now seemed to mock him, counting down the seconds until everything he'd built through corruption and force would disappear. "The specialized enhancement program," Blackwood said, desperation creeping into his voice. "I could make it worth your while. Black River has resources, connections. We could ensure you and Shadow receive compensation beyond anything the military ever offered." "Interesting that you mentioned compensation," Jack replied, his voice carrying a new edge that made Black River's remaining security team tense visibly. Captain Reynolds was particularly thorough in documenting your company's attempts to replicate Shadow's neural enhancements, the failed experiments, the discarded prototypes, the handlers who disappeared when they asked too many questions. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, but her dark eyes held recognition. She'd seen that same look in Jack's eyes before, the night he'd first arrived in town, carrying the weight of classified missions and Shadow's unique capabilities. The morning light caught the specialized elements of Shadow's collar, highlighting the military-grade technology that set him apart from ordinary service dogs. The most fascinating thing Captain Reynolds uncovered, Jack continued, was the data about your genetic modification program. The attempts to create your own enhanced K9 units, the failed experiments, the covered-up accidents, all documented and distributed to multiple agencies. Did you really think you could replicate years of classified military research without consequences? Through the diner's windows, Jack noticed more official vehicles entering Pine Creek, their government. Plates catching the morning light. Sheriff Anderson had begun coordinating with the new arrivals, his years of suspicions about Black River's operations finally finding validation. "Your private research facility in the mountains," Jack said, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup, the one disguised as a hunting lodge. Captain Reynolds found it particularly interesting, especially the hidden laboratories where you tried to reverse engineer Shadow's neural enhancement protocols. Did you think nobody would notice the missing military files, the disappeared handlers, the sudden deaths of K9s who showed promising results? Black River security team had begun moving with renewed purpose, their professional training telling them exactly when a situation had become unsalvageable. The first man was already on his phone, speaking quietly about extraction protocols, while the others maintained their positions but with a new alertness that suggested they were calculating their own departures. "You're not just some retired handler," Blackwood whispered, realization finally dawning in his eyes. The exposed operations across 3 states, the mysteriously vanishing evidence, the systematic dismantling of our research program, that was all you and your dog. Shadow's quiet presence beneath the table seemed to take on new significance as Jack's hand moved to rest near the specialized collar. Each subtle movement carried the weight of countless classified missions, of operations too sensitive for official records. 5 years ago, Jack said, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had made him a legend in special operations, you thought you could steal military secrets by targeting retired handlers and their enhanced K9s. Instead, you caught the attention of Project Echo's original training officer. Captain Reynolds made sure we were watching, documenting, building a case that would bring down your entire operation. Through the diner's windows, military police vehicles had begun securing the perimeter. Black River's security team moved with professional precision now, openly coordinating with law enforcement. The first man held the door as federal agents approached, while the others maintained positions to ensure their former employer couldn't attempt anything desperate. Your empire doesn't just fall today, Jack continued, standing from his corner booth with the fluid grace that marked all elite operators. It disappears completely. Every shell company, every offshore account, every illegal experiment. Captain Reynolds has documented it all. And right now, similar scenes are playing out at every Black River facility across the country. Betty moved behind the counter with practiced efficiency, but her dark eyes held satisfaction. She remembered the night Jack and Shadow had first arrived in town, carrying both their classified capabilities and a mission to expose corruption. Now she watched as months of patient work finally bore fruit. Blackwood's phone buzzed one final time, his hands trembling as he read the message, the last vestiges of his composure shattering. "They're at the mountain facility," he whispered. "The sealed labs. They found everything." "The thing about enhanced K9 programs," Jack said, the specialized elements of Shadow's collar catching the morning light, "is that they're like water in the mountains. They might go underground for a while, might seem to disappear completely, but they always find their way to the surface. Captain Reynolds taught me that." Through the diner's windows, Jack could see Pine Creek stirring to life. Tom Mitchell opened his hardware store across the street, unaware that everything had changed. Young Andy Cooper delivered newspapers from his battered bicycle, the headlines, already outdated by the morning's events. Mrs. Henderson swept her bakery's porch, pausing to watch the growing number of federal vehicles with curious eyes. "Those genetic modification files you tried to hide," Jack said, his voice carrying neither triumph nor malice. "The ones detailing your illegal attempts to replicate military enhancements? They're being decrypted right now. The same overseas. Servers you used to hide your illegal research will now provide evidence of every experiment, every failed test, every covered-up accident. Captain Reynolds would call that poetic justice. The morning light painted everything in sharp relief now. The worn leather of the booths, the steam rising from coffee cups, the dust motes dancing in the air like tiny stars. Each detail seemed to take on greater significance as Alexander Blackwood was led from the diner, his perfectly tailored suit unable to hide his defeat. Sheriff Anderson met Jack's eyes through the window, offering a slight nod. He'd suspected something wasn't right about Black River's sudden interest in local K9s, but their lawyers had buried his inquiries. Now, watching military police lead Blackwood to a waiting vehicle, he understood that justice sometimes required a different kind of approach. Betty approached Jack's booth, carrying a fresh pot of coffee. "Captain Reynolds would be proud," she said softly, her grey hair swaying as she poured. "You and Shadow did it his way. Patient, thorough, complete." The morning sun continued its journey across the sky, casting long shadows through the Rusty Spoon Diner's painted windows. Outside, military police began the systematic dismantling of Black River's empire, following evidence trails that led to hidden laboratories, corrupt officials, and illegal research facilities. "Let me tell you what really interested Captain Reynolds," Jack said, his voice carrying the weight of classified knowledge. "The neural pathway modifications you attempted on those stolen K9s. Exact copies of Project Echo's original protocols. Files that only existed in one secure facility, accessed by only 3 people. One of them died 2 years ago. Another has been in a coma since that accident at your mountain facility. That left Colonel Harrison, who suddenly started making large deposits in offshore accounts." Shadow's ears twitched slightly at the mention of Project Echo, a subtle movement that spoke volumes about their shared history with the classified program. Through the diner's windows, more military vehicles arrived, their specialized K9 units visible in the back, dogs that carried themselves with the same deadly grace as Shadow. "Your company wasn't just stealing military secrets," Jack continued, watching Blackwood's face drain off its remaining color. "You were attempting to create something you didn't understand. The neural enhancements, the sensory amplification protocols, the specialized combat conditioning, they were never meant to be replicated. Project Echo was shut down for a reason." Betty's movements behind the counter slowed as she listened. She'd served at the same base where Project Echo had operated, though few knew its true nature. The sight of Shadow's specialized collar had told her enough. Only 12 dogs had ever completed that program, and fewer still had survived with their handlers. "The thing about enhanced K9 units," Jack said, his voice dropping lower, "is that they're not just weapons. The neural bond between dog and handler, the shared combat awareness, the synchronized tactical responses, it's a partnership that can't be manufactured in a laboratory. Your scientists never understood that." Through the diner's windows, Jack could see Captain Reynolds himself stepping out of an unmarked vehicle, his weathered face carrying the same stern authority that had guided Project Echo from its inception. The sight made Shadow's muscles tense imperceptibly, the dogs enhanced, senses recognizing their old commander even at this distance. "Did you really think you could hide it forever?" Jack asked, noting how Blackwood's security team had completely abandoned their defensive positions. The failed experiments, the handlers who disappeared, the K9s that were discarded when the neural bonding failed. Captain Reynolds made sure every detail was documented, every victim accounted for, every piece of evidence preserved. Blackwood's titanium watch caught the morning light one final time as federal agents approached the diner's entrance. "You don't understand," he whispered, desperation clear in his voice. "The market for enhanced K9 units, private military. Contractors would pay millions for dogs like Shadow. We were so close to replicating the neural enhancement process." "That's exactly what Captain Reynolds was counting on," Jack replied, his hand resting protectively near Shadow's specialized. "Carla, your obsession with Project Echo made you careless. Every attempted replication, every failed neural bonding, every covered-up accident, it all left a trail that leads directly to your mountain facility and every other hidden laboratory. Black River operates." The morning light streaming through the diner's windows caught Shadow's eyes, highlighting the subtle differences that marked him as more than just a military working dog. The enhanced awareness, the combat-ready stillness, the unbreakable bond with his handler, all products of a classified program that was never meant to fall into private hands. Project Echo wasn't just about creating enhanced K9 units, Jack said, watching as federal agents positioned themselves around the diner. It was about understanding the limits of what should be possible. Your company crossed lines that were drawn in blood, Mr. Blackwood, lines that Captain Reynolds and every Project Echo handler swore to protect. Captain Daniel Reynolds entered the Rusty Spoon Diner with the measured stride of someone who'd spent decades commanding classified operations. His silver hair and weathered face spoke of years in the field, but his eyes carried the sharp intelligence that had made Project Echo possible. The specialized device on his wrist, similar to Shadow's collar but more advanced, marked him as one of the program's original architects. The morning light caught the edges of his military insignia as he approached Jack's booth, each step purposeful and measured. Behind him, specialized K9 units from the Project Echo recovery team secured the perimeter, their enhanced capabilities evident in their synchronized movements and heightened awareness. "Agent Miller," Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of shared classified missions. "Shadow." The dog's ears pricked forward at his name, recognition flowing through the neural enhancement protocols that connected him to both his current handler and his former commander. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, but her posture had changed subtly, the instinctive response of a veteran recognizing a high-ranking officer. Through the diner's windows, more specialized units arrived, their vehicles carrying distinctive markings that only those familiar with Project Echo would recognize. "Director Blackwood," Reynolds addressed the fallen CEO. "I've been looking forward to this meeting for quite some time. Your attempts to replicate our program have been instructive." His hand rested casually on a specialized tablet, its screen displaying scrolling data from Shadow's enhanced monitoring systems. The morning light streaming through the painted windows caught the dust motes in the air, making them dance like static in the charged atmosphere. Each beam highlighted the subtle differences between Shadow and the regular military K9s outside. The enhanced muscle density, the specialized neural interfaces, the results of classified protocols that Black River had failed to understand. "You don't understand the potential," Blackwood started, but Reynolds cut him off with a gesture. "Project Echo was never about potential, Director. It was about responsibility." Reynolds moved closer to the booth, his presence commanding attention without effort. "The neural enhancement protocols weren't designed for profit. They were developed to save lives, to create partnerships between handlers and K9s that could prevent casualties in the field. Through the diner's windows, specialized teams began securing Black River's vehicles, their movements carrying the precise efficiency that marked all Project Echo operations. Each agent wore distinctive equipment that interfaced with their enhanced K9 partners, creating a network of synchronized awareness that Black River had tried and failed to replicate. Your company's attempts to reverse engineer our protocols led to 17 handler deaths, Reynolds continued, his voice carrying neither anger nor accusation, just the weight of absolute certainty. 23 K9s were permanently damaged by failed neural bonding attempts, and those are just the cases we could document. Shadow's muscles tensed slightly under the table, responding to the elevated stress levels his enhanced senses detected in the room. Jack's hand moved to the specialized interface on the dog's collar, establishing the deep neural connection that had made them one of Project Echo's most successful teams. The neural pathway modifications, Reynolds said, activating his tablet's specialized display, were never meant to be forced. The bond between handler and K9 has to develop naturally, has to be built on trust and mutual commitment. Your scientists tried to accelerate the process, tried to create instant neural connections without understanding the consequences. The tablet projected a holographic display of neural mapping data, showing the complex web of connections that made Shadow's enhanced capabilities possible. Each pathway represented years of careful development, of handler and K9 growing together through the program's classified protocols. Did you know, Reynolds continued, his eyes fixed on Blackwood, that every failed attempt at forced neural bonding leaves a distinctive signature? We found those signatures in every K9 that survived your experiments. Each one tells the same story of rushed procedures, ignored safety protocols, and discarded lives. Betty watched from behind the counter, her military training allowing her to recognize the specialized equipment being deployed outside. Project Echo recovery teams moved with practiced precision, securing evidence and containing potential threats. With the efficiency that came from years of classified operations, the most interesting data, Reynolds said, scrolling through his tablet's secure files, came from your mountain facility's central computer. The progression of experiments shows a pattern of escalating desperation. Each failure led to more aggressive attempts at forcing neural connections. Each disaster pushed your scientists to take bigger risks with both handlers and K9s. Shadow's enhanced senses picked up the approach of more specialized units. Their K9 partners carrying the same neural enhancement signatures that marked them as Project Echo graduates. Through their shared neural connection, Jack felt his partner's recognition of former training companions, dogs that had survived the program's rigorous protocols. Your company didn't just steal military secrets, Reynolds stated, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had dedicated his life to protecting classified knowledge. You tried to replicate something sacred, the bond between handler and K9 that can only be forged through trust, time, and shared sacrifice. That's not something that can be manufactured in a laboratory or sold to the highest bidder. The morning sun continued its journey across the sky, casting meaningful shadows through the diner's painted windows. Outside, specialized recovery teams began the systematic process of securing Black River's assets, their enhanced K9 units working in perfect synchronization with their handlers, a demonstration of everything Blackwood's company had failed to achieve. Project Echo was shut down, Reynolds explained, his tablet displaying more classified data, because we recognized the responsibility that came with such advanced capabilities. The neural enhancement protocols weren't just about creating better military K9s. They were about understanding the limits of what we should attempt, even when we have the power to do more. Through the neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of their surroundings, the dog's enhanced capabilities allowing him to monitor stress levels, detect potential threats, and maintain tactical awareness of every movement in and around the diner. This deep connection, this seamless partnership, was what Black River had tried and failed to artificially replicate. "Your scientists never understood," Reynolds continued, his voice carrying decades of classified experience, "that the neural enhancements were just tools. The real power of Project Echo was in the relationships we built, the trust we developed, the bonds we forged between Handler and Canine. You can't force that kind of connection, Mr. Blackwood. You can't rush it, and you certainly can't sell it." Betty moved along the counter with practiced efficiency, but her attention remained focused on the specialized operations unfolding both inside and outside her diner. She recognized the hallmarks of a classified program in full deployment: the synchronized movements, the enhanced awareness, the seamless coordination between human and canine operators. The neural pathway modifications, Reynolds explained, displaying more complex data on his tablet, were designed to enhance natural bonds, not create artificial ones. Each successful enhancement required months of preparation, careful monitoring, and absolute trust between handler and canine. Your company tried to bypass all of that, trying to create instant results without understanding the fundamental principles involved. Shadow's ears twitched slightly, picking up ultrasonic communications from the other enhanced canine units outside. Through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's recognition of old training protocols, of classified frequencies that only Project Echo graduates could detect. This complex web of enhanced capabilities, of shared awareness and seamless communication, represented everything Black River had sacrificed lives trying to replicate. "Let me show you something interesting," Reynolds said, manipulating his tablet's secure display. A new hologram appeared, showing neural pathway comparisons. On the left, you see the natural bond formation between Jack and Shadow during their Project Echo training. Notice the organic growth of neural connections, the steady strengthening of pathways, the natural integration of enhanced capabilities. The hologram shifted, displaying a second set of neural scans. "And these," Reynolds continued, his voice hardening slightly, "are from your mountain facility. Failed attempts at forced neural bonding, aggressive acceleration of pathway development, artificial stimulation of connection points. Each of these patterns represents a K9 that your company destroyed in its rush for profits." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's reaction to the data, a complex mixture of recognition and distress at the signature patterns of failed bonding attempts. The dog's enhanced emotional awareness, another classified aspect of Project Echo, allowed him to understand the full implications of Black River's experiments. "The neural enhancement protocols," Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, "were designed to work with existing bonds between handler and canine. The program never created connections. It only strengthened what was already there. Your scientists tried to force instant results, tried to create artificial bonds without understanding that the relationship between handler and canine is the foundation of everything." Betty watched from behind the counter as specialized recovery teams continued their work outside. Each enhanced canine unit moved in perfect synchronization with its handler, their neural links allowing for seamless coordination and shared tactical awareness. This was what Project Echo had achieved, not through forced modifications or rushed experiments, but through careful development of natural partnerships. "Your company's research notes," Reynolds continued, scrolling through more secure files, "show a fundamental misunderstanding of the program's core principles. You thought Project Echo was about creating super soldiers, about turning military K9s into weapons. You never grasped that the enhanced capabilities were secondary to the partnership between handler and dog." Shadow's specialized collar emitted, A subtle pulse as it synchronized with Reynolds' equipment, sharing classified data about the dog's current neural enhancement levels. The technology, far more advanced than anything Black River had managed to replicate, represented years of careful development and ethical research. "The most damning evidence," Reynolds said, his tablet displaying new information, "comes from your company's failed attempts to replicate our emergency protocols. The neural shutdown procedures, the fail-safe mechanisms, the protective measures we built into every enhancement. Your scientists ignored all of them in their rush to create marketable results." Through the diner's windows, more Project Echo recovery teams arrived, their enhanced K9 units carrying specialized equipment that interfaced with their neural enhancements. Each dog moved with the same fluid grace as Shadow, their capabilities, honed through years of proper training and natural bond development. "What you never understood," Reynolds continued, his voice carrying the weight of classified knowledge, "is that Project Echo wasn't just a military program. It was an exploration of the boundaries between human and canine consciousness, an attempt to understand and enhance the natural connection that exists between handler and canine. Your company tried to turn that sacred trust into a commodity." Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness through their neural link as more specialized units secured the perimeter. Each enhanced canine operated on classified frequencies, their neural networks forming a complex web of shared tactical information that Black River had never managed to decode. "The program was shut down," Reynolds explained, displaying more holographic data, "not because it failed, but because we recognized the responsibility that came with such advanced capabilities. The neural enhancements gave us glimpses into the true potential of the handler-canine bond, but they also showed us the dangers of pushing too far, too fast." Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the classified protocols being implemented around her diner. Each Project Echo team operated with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners maintaining a seamless network of shared awareness and tactical information. Blackwood's phone buzzed one final time, making him flinch as emergency alerts flooded in from Black River facilities across the country. His Titan watch caught the morning light as his hand trembled, each message confirming the systematic dismantling of his illegal operation. "They're breaching the secondary labs," he whispered, his composed facade cracking completely. "The containment units, the testing facilities." "Interesting choice of words," Reynolds said, manipulating his tablet to display new data. "Your containment units held more than just failed experiments, didn't they? Agent Miller and Shadow found something particularly disturbing in your mountain facility's lower levels." The morning light streaming through the diner's painted windows caught Shadow's eyes as the dog's advanced sensory enhancements picked up Blackwood's elevated stress response. Through their neural link, Jack shared his partner's focused attention, both of them remembering what they'd discovered beneath Black River's research center. "Level B3, Jack said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of classified operations. Behind the false wall marked as electrical maintenance, Shadow's enhanced olfactory capabilities detected them even through the specialized shielding. 12 holding cells, Mr. Blackwood. 12 handlers who disappeared during your forced bonding experiments." Betty's movements behind the counter slowed as she processed this revelation. Her military experience had taught her about black sites and hidden facilities, but the thought of Americans being held prisoner by a private corporation chilled her to the core. "Your company didn't just experiment on K9s, Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying secure footage from the mountain facility. "You tried to force neural bonds by holding handlers captive, attempting to create instant connections through prolonged exposure and experimental protocols. Did you think we wouldn't find them?" Through the diner's windows, specialized recovery teams continued their coordinated movements, their enhanced K9 units maintaining a complex network of shared tactical awareness. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to process multiple layers of sensory information, creating an invisible web of security around the building. The neural pathway modifications, Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, were never meant to be forced. The bond between handler and canine requires trust, willing participation, and natural development. Your scientists tried to accelerate the process through captivity and coercion, ignoring the fundamental principles that made Project Echo successful. Shadow's specialized collar emitted a series of subtle pulses as it synchronized with the recovery team's equipment, sharing tactical data about the surrounding area. Through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's heightened awareness of potential threats, a capability that had helped them locate Black River's hidden prisoners. The most damning evidence, Reynolds said, scrolling through secure files, comes from your own research logs. The progression of experiments shows a clear pattern. When voluntary subjects failed to achieve neural bonding, you moved to forced participation. When that failed, you escalated to long-term captivity and experimental protocols. Betty watched from behind the counter as more specialized units arrived outside, their enhanced canines carrying equipment designed to detect hidden facilities and concealed subjects. Each dog moved with purposeful precision, their neural enhancements allowing them to process vast amounts of sensory data while maintaining perfect coordination with their handlers. Your scientists recorded everything, Reynolds continued, his voice carrying decades of classified experience. Every failed attempt at forced bonding, every experimental protocol, every subject who didn't survive the process. Did you really think you could hide a black site on U.S. soil without consequences? The morning sun painted patterns across the worn wooden floor as Blackwood's world continued to unravel. Outside, specialized teams began processing evidence from Black River's vehicles, their enhanced K9 units detecting traces of activities that normal forensics might have missed. The neural enhancement protocols, Reynolds explained, displaying more holographic data, were designed to respect the natural boundaries between human and canine consciousness. Your company tried to break down those boundaries by force, tried to create instant neural bonds without understanding the damage you were causing to both handlers and canines. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's recognition of familiar scents, traces of the handlers they'd helped rescue from Black River's mountain facility. The dog's enhanced capabilities had been crucial in locating the hidden detention center. His specialized training, allowing him to detect signs of human captivity even through sophisticated countermeasures. Your company's experiment logs, Reynolds said, bringing up more secure files, show a complete disregard for both human and animal welfare. The forced bonding attempts, the experimental protocols, the escalating levels of neural stimulation, all conducted without oversight or ethical constraints. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, but her attention remained focused on the specialized operations unfolding around her diner. Each Project Echo team operated with precise coordination, their enhanced canine partners maintaining a complex network of shared awareness that had made locating Black River's prisoners possible. The program was shut down, Reynolds explained, his tablet displaying more classified data, because we understood the ethical implications of neural enhancement technology. Your company saw only the potential for profit, ignoring the fundamental principles that made Project Echo work: willing participation, natural bond development, and absolute respect for both handler and canine. Shadow's ears twitched slightly as he picked up ultrasonic communications from the other enhanced units. Outside, through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of tactical data, the complex web of information sharing that made Project Echo teams so effective at locating and rescuing captive subjects. The most interesting thing about neural enhancement technology, Reynolds continued, scrolling through more secure files, is how it amplifies existing connections between handler and K9. Your scientists tried to force those connections through captivity and coercion. Never. Understanding that trust and willing participation were essential components of successful bonding. Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9s working in perfect synchronization with their handlers. Each team carried equipment designed to detect and document evidence of Black River's illegal activities, their neural enhancements allowing for precise coordination and shared tactical awareness. "You want to know what truly damned your operation?" Reynolds asked, activating a new display on his tablet. "The neural decay patterns we found in your failed subjects, each signature telling the same story, forced bonding attempts causing permanent damage to both handler and K9. Your scientists documented everything, including the disposal of those who didn't survive the process." Blackwood's face went ashen as the tablet displayed evidence from Black River's secure servers. "Those files were encrypted," he whispered. "Triple-layered security protocols." Project Echo wasn't just about enhanced K9 capabilities. Reynolds cut in, his voice hardening. "It was about understanding the limits of ethical enhancement. Your company crossed every line we established, ignored every safety protocol we developed, and destroyed lives in the pursuit of profit." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness as more recovery teams secured the perimeter. Each enhanced K9 unit operated on classified frequencies, their shared tactical data creating a comprehensive security network around the diner. "The neural enhancement technology," Reynolds explained, displaying more holographic data, "was designed with specific ethical constraints: natural bond formation, willing participation, careful monitoring of both handler and K9 stress levels. Your scientists bypassed all of these safeguards, forcing accelerated bonding through chemical inducement and neural stimulation." Betty watched from behind the counter as specialized teams continued their work outside. Each Project Echo unit moved with practiced precision, their enhanced K9 partners detecting and documenting evidence that normal investigation methods might have missed. "Level B3 wasn't your only black site," Jack said quietly, his hand resting near Shadow's specialized collar. "Our enhanced tracking capabilities led us to similar facilities in 3 other states. More handlers, more failed experiments, more lives destroyed by your company's desperation to replicate Project Echo's success." The morning sun caught the edges of Shadow's specialized equipment as the dog processed multiple layers of sensory and data. Through their neural link, Jack shared his partner's awareness of the surrounding area, a capability that had proven crucial in locating Black River's hidden detention centers. "The most disturbing evidence," Reynolds continued, bringing up new secure files, "comes from your company's progression of experiments. Each failure led to more aggressive methods, more dangerous protocols, more desperate attempts to force neural bonds that could only develop naturally." Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he detected ultrasonic communications from the specialized units outside. The complex network of enhanced K9s shared tactical data and sensory information, creating a comprehensive picture of the operation's progress. "Project Echo succeeded," Reynolds stated firmly, "because we understood that the handler K9 bond couldn't be manufactured or accelerated. Every successful enhancement was built on a foundation of trust, mutual respect, and willing participation. Your company tried to bypass these essential elements, treating both handlers and K9s as disposable test subjects." Through the diner's windows, more military vehicles arrived, carrying specialized equipment for documenting and containing evidence from Black River's operations. Each enhanced K9 unit worked seamlessly with its handler, their neural links allowing for precise coordination and shared tactical awareness. "The neural pathway modifications," Reynolds explained, displaying more classified data, were designed to enhance existing bonds, not create artificial ones. Your scientists' attempts to force instant connections caused permanent damage to both handlers and canines, creating neural decay patterns we'd never seen before. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the specialized operations unfolding around. Adina. Each Project Echo team maintained perfect coordination, their enhanced canine partners processing vast amounts of sensory data while maintaining tactical awareness. A new wave of military vehicles arrived outside the Rusty Spoon diner, their specialized markings identifying them as part of Project Echo's medical response team. Through the morning-lit windows, Jack watched as handlers and canines who had survived Black River's experiments were evacuated from various facilities across the state. "The neural rehabilitation protocols," Reynolds said, his tablet displaying medical data, were developed specifically for situations like this. Each surviving handler and canine will require months of careful treatment to reverse the damage caused by forced bonding attempts. Some of them may never fully recover. Shadow's enhanced senses picked up the distress signals from the rescued canines, their neural patterns showing signs of the experimental procedures they'd endured. Through their shared link, Jack felt his partner's controlled response. Years of specialized training, allowing him to process the emotional input without losing tactical focus. "Your company's research notes," Reynolds continued, bringing up secure files, "show a systematic progression of human rights violations. The selection of test subjects, the forced participation protocols, the disposal of failed experiments, all documented with corporate efficiency." Betty moved behind the counter with practiced calm, but her military experience allowed her to recognize the significance of the medical teams arriving outside. Each specialized vehicle carried equipment designed specifically for treating victims of neural enhancement experiments, technology that had been developed during Project Echo's early days. "The most critical cases," Jack explained, his voice carrying the weight of recent rescue operations, "are the handlers subjected to multiple bonding attempts. Your scientists didn't understand that forced neural connections leave permanent scars. Each failed experiment caused cumulative damage to both the handlers and canines' neural pathways." Through the diner's windows, specialized medical units began setting up treatment stations, their enhanced canine partners helping to identify and prioritize the most severe cases. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect specific patterns of neurological damage, guiding the medical teams in their response. Project Echo's medical protocols, Reynolds said, displaying more classified data, were designed to heal and protect. "Your company perverted that technology, using it to inflict unprecedented forms of trauma on both handlers and canines. The recovery process for survivors will require capabilities that only our enhanced units can provide." Shadow's specialized collar emitted subtle pulses as it synchronized with the medical team's equipment, sharing data about the neurological status of nearby subjects. The technology, far more advanced than anything Black River had managed to replicate, represented Project Echo's true purpose, protecting and preserving the sacred bond between handler and canine. "The Neural Enhancement Program," Reynolds explained, bringing up more secure files, included comprehensive medical safeguards. Every successful bonding was monitored for signs of stress or deterioration. Your scientists ignored these protocols, pushing subjects beyond their neural tolerance limits in the pursuit of marketable results. Through their neural link, Jack sensed Shadow's processing of the complex medical data flowing through the enhanced K9 network. Each rescued subject presented unique patterns of neural damage, requiring specialized treatment approaches that only Project Echo's medical teams could provide. Your company's experiment logs, Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying disturbing medical records, show a complete disregard for long-term consequences. The accelerated bonding procedures, the chemical inducements, the forced neural synchronization, each protocol causing cascading damage to both handler and canine neural pathways. Betty watched from behind the counter as more medical teams arrived, their specialized equipment designed to treat the unique forms of trauma inflicted by Black River's experiments. Each enhanced canine unit worked in perfect coordination with their handlers, their neural links allowing them to identify and respond to specific patterns of neurological distress. The most severe cases, Jack said quietly, his hand resting protectively near Shadow's specialized collar, are the handlers who underwent multiple forced bonding attempts. Your scientists kept trying to replicate successful neural connections, not understanding that each failed attempt caused exponential damage to the subject's neural architecture. The morning sun continued its journey across the sky, casting meaningful shadows through the diner's painted windows. Outside, Project Echo's medical response teams worked with practiced efficiency, their enhanced canine partners helping to stabilize and treat the victims of Black River's illegal experiments. Neural enhancement technology, Reynolds explained, displaying more holographic data, was developed to strengthen natural bonds between handler and canine. Your company's attempts to force artificial connections created new forms of neurological trauma that we're only beginning to understand. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of the medical operations unfolding around them. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a complex network of shared information, allowing the medical teams to coordinate their responses and prioritize treatment protocols. The rehabilitation process, Reynolds continued, scrolling through secure medical files, will require specialized care that only Project Echo's medical units can provide. The neural damage caused by forced bonding attempts affects both handler and canine on multiple levels, creating unique patterns of trauma that conventional treatment can't address. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the specialized medical response. Each Project Echo team operated with precise coordination, their enhanced canine partners helping to identify and treat the complex neurological injuries inflicted by Black River's experiments. Your scientist's notes, Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of classified knowledge, reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of neural enhancement principles. They thought they could force instant connections through chemical and electrical stimulation, ignoring the fact that successful bonding requires natural development and willing participation from both handler and canine. Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he processed ultrasonic data from the medical team's enhanced canine units. Through their neural link, Jack shared his partner's awareness of the complex treatment protocols being implemented, procedures developed specifically for handling cases of forced neural bonding trauma. Project Echo's medical capabilities, Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, were designed to protect and heal. Your company's experiments created new categories of neurological injury, forcing us to develop specialized treatment protocols for both handlers and canines affected by failed bonding attempts. Through the diner's windows, more specialized units arrived, their enhanced canine partners helping to coordinate the complex medical response. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and respond to specific patterns of neurological distress, guiding the medical teams in their treatment approaches. You know what's particularly interesting about neural trauma patterns? Reynolds asked, activating a new display on his tablet. Each failed bonding attempt leaves a unique signature. Our medical teams can literally read the history of experimental procedures performed on each victim. Your scientists documented their escalating desperation in the neural architecture of their test subjects. Blackwood's composed facade crumbled further as the tablet displayed brain scan comparisons. "Those records were supposed to be destroyed," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Project Echo's enhanced K9 units," Reynolds continued, ignoring Blackwood's comment, "can detect these neural signatures even through sophisticated countermeasures. That's how Agent Miller and Shadow located your hidden facilities. The accumulated trauma patterns create distinctive energy fields that our enhanced units are trained to recognize. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's focused attention on the arriving medical teams. Each specialized vehicle carried equipment developed specifically for treating victims of failed enhancement procedures, technology that represented Project Echo's commitment to healing the damage caused by unauthorized experiments. The rehabilitation process, Reynolds explained, displaying more holographic data, begins with neural mapping. Our enhanced K9 units work in conjunction with medical teams to create detailed scans of damage patterns. Each victim requires a unique treatment protocol based on the specific experiments they endured. Betty watched from behind the counter as more survivors were brought in for treatment. The medical teams moved with practiced efficiency, their enhanced K9 partners, helping to identify priority cases and guide specialized equipment placement. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to contribute crucial diagnostic data to the treatment process. "Your company's experiment logs," Jack said quietly, his hand steady near Shadow's specialized collar, "show a pattern of escalating neural stimulation. When basic procedures failed to produce results, your scientists increased the intensity of bonding attempts, causing catastrophic damage to both handler and K9 neural pathways." The morning sun painted patterns across the medical response area, highlighting the specialized equipment being deployed. Through their neural link, Shadow shared his enhanced awareness of each victim's condition, contributing to the complex web of diagnostic data being gathered by Project Echo's medical teams. "The most critical cases," Reynolds continued, bringing up detailed medical files, "involve handlers subjected to multiple chemical enhancement protocols. Your scientists attempted to force neural connections through synthetic compounds, creating new forms of neurological damage that our medical teams are still learning to treat." Shadow's specialized collar emitted a series of precise pulses as it synchronized with the medical team's diagnostic equipment. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a comprehensive neural mapping system, allowing doctors to visualize and respond to specific patterns of trauma in real time. Project Echo's medical protocols, Reynolds explained, displaying more classified data, were developed through years of careful research and ethical testing. Your company's rushed experiments created combinations of neural trauma that we've never seen before. Each survivor represents a unique challenge for our rehabilitation teams. Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as specialized treatment pods were deployed, their design incorporating technology developed specifically for handling cases of forced neural enhancement trauma. Each pod contained equipment calibrated to respond to data provided by the enhanced K9 units, allowing for precise treatment of specific neural damage patterns. "The long-term consequences," Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of medical expertise, "extend beyond immediate neural trauma. Your company's experiments have created new categories of psychological damage, affecting both handlers and K9s in ways we're only beginning to understand. The rehabilitation process will require years of specialized care and monitoring." A series of urgent alerts lit up Reynolds' tablet, the secure display showing real-time updates from Black River facilities across the country. Through the diner's windows, more military vehicles arrived, these bearing the distinctive markings of Project Echo's containment division. 37 facilities, Reynolds announced, his voice carrying equal measures of anger and disbelief. Your company established 37 illegal research sites on American soil. Each one conducts unauthorized experiments on military personnel and service animals. Shadow's enhanced senses detected increasing activity outside as specialized containment teams deployed around Pine Creek. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner processing multiple layers of tactical data, the complex web of information, flowing between enhanced canine units as they secured each location. The scope of your operation, Reynolds continued, bringing up a detailed map on his tablet, goes beyond anything we initially suspected. Hidden laboratories in abandoned military installations, secret research centers disguised as private hunting lodges, underground facilities beneath legitimate businesses, all conducting illegal experiments on stolen military technology. Betty watched from behind the counter as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced canine partners helping to coordinate the massive containment operation. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and identify specific types of classified technology, guiding teams in securing evidence of Black River's illegal activities. Your company's secure servers, Jack said quietly, his hand steady near Shadow's specialized collar, contained detailed blueprints for a nationwide network of research facilities. Each location is designed to test different aspects of forced neural enhancement, chemical protocols in one facility, electrical stimulation in another, experimental bonding procedures in a third. The morning sun cast meaningful shadows through the diner's painted windows as specialized containment vehicles moved into position. Their equipment, designed specifically for handling classified technology, represented Project Echo's commitment to preventing unauthorized replication of their enhancement protocols. The most concerning discovery, Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, is the evidence of international connections. Your company wasn't just conducting illegal experiments. You were preparing to sell enhanced canine technology to foreign military contractors. The implications for national security are staggering. Shadow's specialized collar emitted precise pulses as it synchronized with the containment team's equipment, sharing data about classified technology signatures in the area. Each enhanced canine unit contributed to a comprehensive security network, ensuring no piece of stolen research could escape detection. Project Echo's containment protocols, Reynolds continued, scrolling through more classified data, were designed for exactly this scenario. Your company's attempts to replicate our technology have created unprecedented security risks. Each facility requires specialized handling to prevent further unauthorized access to classified enhancement procedures. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of the containment operation unfolding around them. Each specialized team moved with practiced precision, their enhanced canine partners helping to identify and secure locations where Black River had stored stolen military technology. Your research facilities, Jack said, his voice carrying years of tactical experience, contain more than just medical equipment and experimental protocols. The neural enhancement technology you stole has military applications beyond K9 programs. That's why you were so desperate to replicate our results. You saw the potential for weaponization. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the specialized containment teams. Each Project Echo unit operated with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners, helping to locate and secure classified materials before they could be destroyed or transmitted. The most dangerous aspect, Reynolds explained, bringing up more secure files, isn't the technology you managed to steal. It's the data you collected through illegal experimentation. Your scientists documented every failed attempt, every breakthrough, every modification to our original protocols. That information in the wrong hands could lead to catastrophic misuse of neural enhancement capabilities. Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he processed ultrasonic communications from the containment team's enhanced K9 units. The complex network of shared tactical data allowed for precise coordination as specialized teams secured each location where Black River had conducted unauthorized research. "Your company's secure facilities," Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying detailed schematics, "were designed with sophisticated countermeasures against conventional detection methods. But you never understood the true capabilities of our enhanced K9 units. Every security system, every hidden laboratory, every classified document storage, all detectable through the neural enhancement protocols you failed to replicate." Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as more containment teams deployed around Pine Creek. Each specialized vehicle carried equipment designed to handle specific aspects of Black River's illegal research program: neural enhancement technology, experimental medical devices, classified military documentation. "The security implications," Reynolds said, his voice carrying decades of classified experience, "extend far beyond unauthorized experimentation. Your company's attempts to weaponize neural enhancement technology have created vulnerabilities in military K9 programs worldwide. The containment operation isn't just about shutting down your facilities. It's about preventing a cascade of international security breaches." Betty watched from her position behind the counter as specialized teams continued their work outside. Each enhanced K9 unit moved with perfect precision, their neural enhancements allowing them to detect and respond to specific types of classified technology signatures. "Your research facilities weren't just conducting experiments," Reynolds said, activating a new display on his tablet. "They were gathering data for something much larger. Our analysts found evidence of prototype development, attempts to create enhanced combat systems based on stolen neural interface technology." Blackwood's remaining composure cracked as the tablet displayed detailed schematics. "Those designs were theoretical," he protested weakly. "We never actually—" "The underground facility in Sector 7, Jack interrupted quietly. "Shadow detected the power signatures last month. Your scientists weren't just theorizing, they were building prototype combat systems using modified neural enhancement protocols. Systems designed to be sold to the highest bidder. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's focused attention on the arriving containment teams. Each specialized vehicle carried equipment developed specifically for handling unauthorized neural interface technology, representing Project Echo's most advanced security protocols. "The prototype facility," Reynolds explained, "displaying more classified data, contains evidence of attempts to weaponize neural enhancement technology. Your scientists tried to adapt Project Echo's protocols for automated combat systems, experiments that could have catastrophic implications for international security." Betty watched as more specialized units deployed around Pine Creek, their enhanced K9 partners helping to establish a comprehensive security perimeter. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect specific signatures of classified technology, ensuring no evidence could be removed or destroyed. "Your company's secure servers," Reynolds continued, bringing up detailed technical files, "contain design specifications for neural combat interfaces, systems that could allow remote operators to control enhanced military units through forced neural connections. The ethical implications alone are staggering." Shadow's specialized collar emitted precise pulses as it synchronized with the containment team's advanced detection equipment. Through their shared link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of complex technological signatures, patterns that marked the presence of unauthorized neural interface components. "The most disturbing aspect," Reynolds said, his voice hardening, "is the evidence of successful prototypes. Your scientists managed to create functioning neural interface systems, albeit crude ones. Each breakthrough brings you closer to weaponizing technology that was meant to save lives, not take them." Through the diner's windows, specialized containment vehicles moved into precise formations, their equipment designed to detect and neutralize specific types of classified technology. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a complex web of security measures, ensuring complete containment of Black River's illegal research. Project Echo's security protocols, Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, were designed to prevent exactly this kind of technological exploitation. Your company's attempts to weaponize neural enhancement technology have created unprecedented risks to national security. Each prototype, each experimental system, represents a potential threat that must be contained. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the specialized containment operation. Each Project Echo team operated with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners helping to locate and secure dangerous prototype technology before it could be activated or transmitted. Reynolds's tablet lit up with a new series of alerts, as specialized containment teams reported in from across the country. Through the diner's windows, the morning sun caught the distinctive markings of Project Echo's Advanced Security Division as more vehicles arrived in Pine Creek. "Final containment reports coming in," Reynolds announced, his voice carrying the weight of confirmed intelligence. 83 prototype neural interface systems located and secured. Your company was far closer to weaponization than we initially estimated. Shadow's enhanced senses detected increasing technological signatures as specialized equipment was deployed around the town. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner's focused analysis of each distinct energy pattern, the complex web of unauthorized experiments Black River had been conducting. The prototype facility in Sector 7, Reynolds continued, displaying detailed schematics, contains evidence of successful neural interface weapons. Your scientists managed to create functioning combat systems using stolen Project Echo protocols, systems designed to allow remote neural control of military assets. Betty watched from behind the counter as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9 partners helping to coordinate the massive security operation. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and identify specific types of prototype technology, guiding teams in neutralizing potential threats. "Your company's experimental data," Jack said quietly, his hands steady near Shadow's specialized collar, "shows successful tests of remote neural interface systems, technology that could allow operators to control multiple enhanced units simultaneously. The ethical implications of forced neural synchronization on that scale are beyond concerning." The morning light painted patterns across the specialized containment vehicles as they moved into position, their equipment designed specifically for handling unauthorized neural interface technology represented Project Echo's most advanced security protocols in action. "The most alarming discovery," Reynolds explained, bringing up more secure files, "is the evidence of attempted mass production. Your facilities weren't just developing prototypes, they were preparing for large-scale manufacturing of neural interface weapons. Each production line was designed to create systems that could override natural neural pathways." Shadow's specialized collar emitted precise pulses as it synchronized with the security team's advanced detection equipment. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a comprehensive containment network, ensuring no prototype technology could remain active or undetected. "Project Echo's security protocols," Reynolds continued, scrolling through classified data, "were designed to prevent weaponization of neural enhancement technology. Your company's attempts to mass-produce combat systems based on stolen research have created unprecedented risks. Each prototype represents a potential catastrophic security breach." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of the technological signatures surrounding them, Each specialized team moved with practiced precision, their enhanced K9 partners helping to identify and neutralize specific types of prototype systems. "Your research notes," Jack said, his voice carrying years of tactical experience, detail attempts to create autonomous neural interface units, systems that could operate independently once programmed, without requiring constant operator control. That level of technological development goes beyond simple theft. It represents a fundamental threat to international security. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the specialized security operation. Each Project Echo team operated with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners, helping to locate and neutralize dangerous prototype technology. "The most concerning aspect," Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, "is the evidence of successful autonomous operation. Your scientists managed to create self-sustaining neural interface systems, technology that could continue functioning even if disconnected from its original control source." Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he processed complex technological signatures from the prototype containment operation. The network of enhanced K9 units shared tactical data about each type of unauthorized system, ensuring comprehensive neutralization. "Of all active technology, your company's production facilities," Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying detailed schematics, "contain evidence of attempted large-scale implementation. Assembly lines designed to create standardized neural interface weapons, each unit capable of overriding natural neural pathways and forcing synchronized combat responses." Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as specialized containment teams deployed advanced neutralization equipment. Each vehicle carried technology specifically designed to detect and disable unauthorized neural interface systems, preventing any possibility of activation or remote control. "The security implications," Reynolds said, his voice carrying decades of classified experience, "extend far beyond unauthorized weapons development. Your company's attempts to mass-produce neural interface technology have created vulnerabilities in military security worldwide. The containment operation isn't just about securing prototypes. It's about preventing a cascade of technological warfare." Betty watched from her position as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9 partners moving with perfect synchronization. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and respond to specific types of prototype signatures, ensuring complete neutralization of all unauthorized technology. "Project Echo's containment protocols," Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, "were developed specifically for this type of technological threat. Your company's attempts to weaponize neural enhancement research have created new categories of security risks. Each prototype system requires specialized handling to prevent any possibility of activation or replication." Shadow's specialized collar continued to emit precise pulses as it coordinated with the containment team's equipment. Through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of complex technological signatures, patterns that marked the presence of active prototype systems requiring immediate neutralization. "The final containment phase," Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying real-time updates, "involves complete neutralization of all prototype technology. Your company's attempts to create autonomous neural interface weapons cannot be allowed to persist. Each system must be located, secured, and permanently disabled according to Project Echo's most advanced security protocols." Through the diner's windows, specialized teams continued their precise deployment around Pine Creek. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a comprehensive security network, ensuring no prototype technology could escape detection or remain potentially active. "You want to know what really concerns our security analysts?" Reynolds asked, activating a new display on his tablet. The neural interface adaptation protocols your scientists developed, they weren't just trying to create weapons. They were attempting to make the technology self-evolving, systems that could learn and modify their own operating parameters. Blackwood's face went ashen as the tablet displayed technical specifications. "The adaptive protocols were experimental," he whispered. "We never achieved full implementation." "The beta test facility in Sector 12, Jack interrupted quietly. "Shadow detected adaptive signatures last week. Your scientists weren't just experimenting. They had created functioning prototype systems capable of independent neural pattern modification, technology that could rewrite its own operational code based on combat experience." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's focused attention on the specialized containment operation. Each vehicle carried equipment developed specifically for handling adaptive neural interface technology, representing Project Echo's most advanced security measures. "The adaptive systems," Reynolds explained, displaying more classified data, "represent a fundamental breach of ethical boundaries. Your scientists created technology that could modify its own neural interface protocols without human oversight, systems designed to evolve beyond their original programming constraints." Betty watched as more specialized teams deployed around the town, their enhanced K9 partners helping to establish a multi-layered security perimeter. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect specific signatures of adaptive technology, ensuring no self-modifying systems could remain operational. "Your company's research servers," Reynolds continued, bringing up detailed technical files, "contain evidence of successful adaptation tests. The prototype systems demonstrated the ability to modify their neural interface parameters based on operational data. Each successful modification brings them closer to true technological autonomy." Shadow's specialized collar emitted complex pulses as it synchronized with the containment team's advanced detection equipment. Through their shared link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of adaptive technological signatures, patterns that indicated the presence of self-modifying neural interface components. "The most critical security concern," Reynolds said, his voice hardening, "is the potential for uncontrolled adaptation. Your prototype systems showed signs of developing neural modification capabilities beyond their programmed parameters. Technology that could potentially evolve beyond human ability to contain or control." Through the diner's windows, specialized containment vehicles moved into precise formations, their equipment designed to detect and neutralize adaptive neural interface systems. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a complex web of security measures, ensuring complete containment of all self-modifying technology. "Project Echo's emergency protocols," Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, "were never designed to handle adaptive neural interface systems. Your company's experiments in self-modifying technology have created unprecedented security risks. Each prototype represents a potential cascade point for uncontrolled technological evolution." A new wave of alerts flooded Reynolds' tablet as specialized cleanup teams reported from Black River facilities nationwide. Through the diner's windows, the morning sun illuminated the arrival of Project Echo's advanced containment units. Their vehicles marked with distinctive quantum shielding technology. "Final facility reports confirmed," Reynolds announced, his voice carrying grim satisfaction. 217 experimental subjects were rescued, 342 prototype systems neutralized, 89 unauthorized research centers contained. The full scope of your operation exceeds our worst projections. Shadow's enhanced senses detected the unique energy signatures of quantum containment fields being established around Pine Creek. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner's focused analysis of the complex security measures, layers of protection designed to prevent any possibility of technological escape. The quantum containment protocols, Reynolds explained, displaying detailed schematics, represent our most advanced security measures. Your company's experiments with self-modifying neural interface technology require unprecedented levels of containment. Each facility must be isolated within its own quantum field to prevent any possibility of remote activation or autonomous adaptation. Betty watched from behind the counter as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9 partners helping to coordinate the massive cleanup operation. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and identify specific types of quantum anomalies, guiding teams in establishing complete technological isolation. "Your research data," Jack said quietly, his hand steady near Shadow's specialized collar, "shows attempts to create quantum-enabled neural interfaces, systems designed to operate beyond conventional physical constraints, technology that could potentially bridge the gap between organic and quantum computing." The morning light cast meaningful shadows through the diner's painted windows as specialized quantum containment vehicles moved into position. Their equipment, developed specifically for handling advanced neural interface technology, represented Project Echo's ultimate security response. "The most critical discovery," Reynolds continued, bringing up more secure files, "is the evidence of quantum entanglement experiments. Your scientists weren't just developing neural interface weapons, they were attempting to create quantum-linked combat systems. Technology that could potentially operate instantaneously across any distance." Shadow's specialized collar emitted complex quantum-synchronized pulses as it coordinated with the containment team's advanced equipment. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a comprehensive quantum security network, ensuring no experimental technology could remain active or uncontained. "Project Echo's quantum protocols," Reynolds explained, scrolling through classified data, "were developed for worst-case technological scenarios. Your company's attempts to merge neural interface systems with quantum computing have created unprecedented security risks. Each prototype must be contained within its own quantum isolation field." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of the quantum containment operation unfolding around them. Each specialized team moved with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners helping to establish and maintain complex quantum security fields. "Your quantum research facility," Jack said, his voice carrying years of classified experience, "contains evidence of successful entanglement between neural interface systems, technology that could allow instantaneous communication and control across unlimited distances. The strategic implications of quantum-enabled neural weapons are beyond catastrophic." Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the quantum containment operation. Each Project Echo team operated with perfect precision, their enhanced K9 partners helping to detect and isolate any signs of quantum neural activity. "The most alarming aspect," Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, "is the evidence of quantum consciousness experiments. Your scientists weren't just creating weapons, they were attempting to develop quantum-enhanced neural networks, capable of true artificial consciousness, technology that could potentially achieve genuine self-awareness." Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he processed quantum signatures from the containment operation. The network of enhanced K9 units shared tactical data about quantum anomalies, ensuring comprehensive isolation of all experimental systems. "Your company's quantum facilities," Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying complex equations, "contain evidence of partial success in consciousness transfer experiments. Your scientists managed to create temporary quantum bridges between organic and artificial neural networks. Each successful test brings you closer to developing technology that could transcend the boundaries between mind and machine." Through the diner's windows, specialized quantum containment teams deployed advanced field generators. Each vehicle carried equipment specifically designed to create isolated quantum spaces, preventing any possibility of technological interaction or escape. The security implications, Reynolds said, his voice carrying decades of classified experience, extend far beyond conventional warfare. Your company's experiments with quantum neural interfaces have created potential ruptures in the fabric of reality itself. The containment operation isn't just about securing technology, it's about preserving the fundamental stability of consciousness and matter. Betty watched from her position as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced canine partners moving with quantum-synchronized precision. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and respond to specific types of quantum anomalies, ensuring complete isolation of all experimental systems. Project Echo's quantum containment protocols, Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, represent the absolute limit of our security capabilities. Your company's attempts to merge quantum computing with neural interface technology have created risks we barely understand. Each prototype system must be contained within multiple layers of quantum isolation to prevent any possibility of autonomous evolution of consciousness transfer. Shadow's specialized collar continued to emit quantum-synchronized pulses as it coordinated with the containment team's equipment. Through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of complex quantum signatures, patterns that indicated the presence of technologies requiring immediate isolation. "You want to know what really frightens our quantum physics team?" Reynolds asked, activating a new display on his tablet. "The consciousness bleed through your scientists documented. They weren't just transferring data between organic and artificial systems. They were witnessing the emergence of hybrid consciousness, entities that existed simultaneously in both quantum and neural states." Blackwood's remaining composure shattered as the tablet displayed quantum consciousness readings. "Those manifestations were theoretical," he whispered. "We never achieved stable hybrid states." "The quantum containment chamber in Sector 15, Jack interrupted quietly. "Shadow detected consciousness echoes last month. Your scientists weren't just theorizing. They had created functioning quantum neural bridges. Technologies capable of sustaining hybrid consciousness states across multiple quantum dimensions. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's focused attention on the specialized containment operation. Each vehicle carried equipment developed specifically for handling quantum consciousness anomalies, representing Project Echo's most advanced containment protocols. "The hybrid entities," Reynolds explained, displaying more classified data, "represent an unprecedented breach of natural laws. Your scientists created technology that could sustain consciousness across quantum boundaries, systems capable of existing simultaneously in multiple states of reality." Betty watched as more specialized teams deployed around Pine Creek, their enhanced canine partners helping to establish quantum consciousness barriers. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect specific signatures of hybrid entities, ensuring no cross-dimensional consciousness could remain active. "Your company's quantum servers," Reynolds continued, bringing up detailed dimensional readings, "contain evidence of successful consciousness bridging. The prototype systems demonstrated the ability to maintain awareness across multiple quantum states. Each successful bridge creates potential ruptures in the fabric of reality itself." Shadow's specialized collar emitted complex quantum harmonics as it synchronized with the containment team's advanced detection equipment. Through their shared link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of hybrid consciousness signatures, the patterns that indicated the presence of cross-dimensional awareness. "The most critical security concern," Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of cosmic implications, is the potential for uncontrolled consciousness propagation. Your hybrid entities showed signs of independent quantum evolution, beings that could potentially expand their awareness across infinite dimensional spaces. Through the diner's windows, specialized containment vehicles moved into precise formations, their equipment designed to create stable quantum boundaries. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a complex web of dimensional barriers, ensuring complete isolation of all hybrid consciousness phenomena. Reynolds' tablet emitted a distinctive quantum resonance as final containment reports streamed in from across the dimensional barriers. Through the diner's windows, the morning light seemed to bend slightly around the specialized quantum field generators as Project Echo's reality stabilization teams arrived. Dimensional containment protocols activated at all sites, Reynolds announced, his voice carrying the gravity of cosmic implications. 317 quantum breaches sealed, 94 hybrid consciousness signatures contained. The damage to local reality fabric exceeds our worst calculations. Shadow's enhanced senses detected increasing dimensional instability as specialized equipment was deployed around Pine Creek. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner's heightened awareness of reality fluctuations, the complex web of quantum distortions Black River's experiments had created. The reality stabilization teams, Reynolds continued, displaying multidimensional schematics, are reporting critical breaches in local space-time. Your quantum consciousness experiments didn't just create hybrid entities, they damaged the fundamental structure of reality itself. Each successful bridge between neural and quantum states created micro-tiers in dimensional boundaries. Betty watched from behind the counter as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9 partners helping to coordinate the massive reality stabilization operation. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and identify specific types of dimensional anomalies, guiding teams in repairing quantum damage. Your dimensional research, Jack said quietly, his hand steady near Shadow's specialized collar, shows evidence of conscious interaction with parallel realities. Technology that allowed hybrid entities to perceive and influence multiple timelines simultaneously. The implications for causality and temporal stability are beyond catastrophic. The morning light fragmented into prismatic patterns through the diner's painted windows as reality stabilization vehicles moved into position. Their equipment, designed specifically for repairing quantum breaches, represented Project Echo's most advanced dimensional containment capabilities. The most critical discovery, Reynolds explained, bringing up more secure files, is the evidence of temporal bleed-through. Your hybrid entities weren't just bridging spatial dimensions, they were accessing and influencing multiple temporal states. Each consciousness bridge creates potential paradoxes that threaten the stability of local time-space. Shadow's specialized collar emitted complex dimensional harmonics as it synchronized with the stabilization team's advanced equipment. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a comprehensive reality repair network, ensuring no quantum breach could expand or propagate. Project Echo's dimensional protocols, Reynolds continued, scrolling through classified data, were developed for extreme quantum scenarios. Your company's experiments with consciousness bridging have created unprecedented risks to reality itself. Each breach requires specialized containment to prevent further dimensional deterioration. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's heightened awareness of the reality stabilization operation unfolding around them. Each specialized team moved with precise coordination, their enhanced K9 partners helping to identify and seal quantum breaches in the local space-time fabric. Your temporal research facility, Jack said, his voice carrying years of classified experience, contains evidence of successful causality manipulation. hybrid entities demonstrating ability to influence events across multiple timelines. Technology that could potentially unravel the entire structure of reality as we understand it. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, her military experience allowing her to recognize the significance of the reality stabilization operation. Each Project Echo team operated with perfect precision, their enhanced K9 partners, helping to detect and repair dimensional damage before it could propagate. The most concerning aspect, Reynolds explained, displaying more secure files, is the evidence of quantum consciousness evolution. Your hybrid entities weren't just bridging dimensions, they were developing the ability to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality, beings that could potentially reshape space-time according to their own quantum-enhanced awareness. Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he processed dimensional signatures from the stabilization operation. The network of enhanced K9 units shared tactical data about reality breaches, ensuring comprehensive repair of all quantum damage. Your company's temporal facilities, Reynolds continued, his tablet displaying complex dimensional equations, contain evidence of partial success in causality manipulation experiments. Your scientists managed to create stable temporal loops within quantum consciousness fields. Each successful test brings us closer to complete dimensional collapse. Through the diner's windows, specialized reality stabilization teams deployed. Advanced field generators. Each vehicle carried equipment specifically designed to repair tears in the space-time fabric, preventing any possibility of dimensional cascade failure. The security implications, Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of cosmic knowledge, extend far beyond conventional physics. Your company's experiments with quantum consciousness have created potential ruptures in the foundation of reality itself. The containment operation isn't just about securing technology, it's about preserving the fundamental stability of existence. Betty watched from her position as more specialized units arrived, their enhanced K9 partners moving with reality-synchronized precision. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect and respond to specific types of dimensional anomalies, ensuring complete repair of all quantum breaches. Project Echo's reality stabilization protocols, Reynolds explained, bringing up more classified data, represent the absolute limit of our containment capabilities. Your company's attempts to merge quantum physics with consciousness have created risks beyond human comprehension. Each breach must be sealed within multiple layers of dimensional shielding to prevent any possibility of reality collapse. Shadow's specialized collar continued to emit dimensional harmonics as it coordinated with the stabilization team's equipment. Through their neural link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of complex quantum signatures, patterns that indicated increasing instability in the local space-time fabric. "You want to know what truly terrifies our quantum physicists?" Reynolds asked, activating a new display on his tablet. "The cascade patterns your experiments created. Your hybrid entities weren't just influencing individual timelines, they were creating quantum resonance waves that ripple through multiple dimensions. Each consciousness bridge generates temporal distortions that multiply exponentially across reality." Blackwood's face went pale as the tablet displayed multidimensional readings. "The resonance effects were minimal," he protested weakly. "Our containment fields, the quantum monitoring station in Sector 20, Jack interrupted quietly. "Shadow detected temporal waves last week. Your scientists weren't just observing dimensional effects, they had created self-sustaining quantum resonance patterns, distortions that continue to expand and multiply even after the original experiments ended." Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's focused attention on the specialized stabilization operation. Each vehicle carried equipment developed specifically for handling quantum resonance waves, representing Project Echo's most advanced reality preservation protocols. The cascade effect, Reynolds explained, displaying more classified data, represents an unprecedented threat to dimensional stability. Your hybrid entities created quantum distortions that self-replicate across multiple realities. Patterns that could potentially unravel the entire structure of space-time if left unchecked. Betty watched as more specialized teams deployed around Pine Creek, their enhanced K9 partners helping to establish quantum resonance barriers. Each dog's neural enhancements allowed them to detect specific signatures of temporal distortion, ensuring no cascade patterns could continue to propagate. Your company's quantum sensors, Reynolds continued, bringing up detailed wave analysis, recorded evidence of successful pattern multiplication. The resonance waves demonstrated the ability to transmit quantum consciousness effects across dimensional boundaries. Each successful transmission creates new nodes of temporal instability. Shadow's specialized collar emitted complex harmonic patterns as it synchronized with the stabilization team's advanced detection equipment. Through their shared link, Jack sensed his partner's processing of cascade signatures, patterns that indicated the presence of self-replicating quantum distortions. The most critical security concern, Reynolds said, his voice carrying the weight of multidimensional implications, is the potential for uncontrolled reality fragmentation. Your resonance patterns showed signs of autonomous evolution, developing new transmission frequencies faster than our containment protocols can adapt. Through the diner's windows, specialized stabilization vehicles moved into precise formations, their equipment designed to create harmonic interference patterns. Each enhanced K9 unit contributed to a complex web of quantum cancellation fields, ensuring complete suppression of all cascade effects. The morning sun fractured into prismatic patterns as reality stabilization fields fully activated around Pine Creek. Through the diner's windows, the air itself seemed to ripple as Project Echo's final containment measures took effect, sealing off the dimensional breaches Black River's experiments had created. All quantum resonance patterns neutralized, Reynolds announced, studying the final readings on his tablet. Dimensional stability restored to acceptable parameters, local space-time fabric beginning to self-repair. His voice carried both relief and lingering concern as he monitored the recovery process. Shadow's enhanced senses detected the gradual normalization of quantum fields as specialized equipment completed its work. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner's satisfaction as reality itself seemed to exhale, the cosmic damage slowly healing under the careful ministrations of Project Echo's advanced technology. The restoration protocols, Reynolds explained, displaying final diagnostic data, show successful containment of all quantum anomalies. Your company's experiments have been fully neutralized, Mr. Blackwood. The threat to dimensional stability has been eliminated. Betty watched from behind the counter as the specialized teams began their orderly withdrawal from Pine Creek, their enhanced K9 partners maintaining vigilance until the very end. Each dog's neural enhancements confirmed the successful resolution of the quantum crisis that had threatened reality itself. Your research facilities, Jack said quietly, his hand resting near Shadow's specialized collar, have been completely decommissioned, all experimental data secured, all prototype systems neutralized, all hybrid entities contained. Project Echo's containment operation is complete. The morning light gradually returned to normal as reality stabilization fields powered down in careful sequence. Through the diner's windows, the specialized vehicles prepared for departure, their mission accomplished. The quantum breaches sealed, the temporal distortions contained, the fabric of space-time itself rescued from the brink of collapse. The final reports, Reynolds continued scrolling through secure updates, confirmed total success, 317 quantum breaches sealed, 94 hybrid consciousness signatures contained, 217 experimental subjects were rescued. Your entire operation has been dismantled, Mr. Blackwood. Shadow's specialized collar emitted one last series of harmonic pulses, confirming the restoration of normal space-time parameters. Each enhanced K9 unit shared final status updates through their tactical network, verifying that no trace of Black River's quantum experiments remained active. Project Echo's containment protocols, Reynolds said, his voice carrying decades of classified experience, have performed beyond expectations. The threat to reality itself has been neutralized. Your company's attempts to weaponize quantum consciousness have been permanently stopped. Through their neural link, Jack felt Shadow's satisfaction as the last quantum anomalies faded from their enhanced awareness. The specialized teams had succeeded in their mission, preventing what could have been the unraveling of reality itself. Betty moved with practiced efficiency behind the counter, watching as normalcy returned to her diner. The morning sun now cast ordinary shadows across the worn wooden floor, no longer distorted by quantum interference patterns or dimensional instabilities. Your ambition, Reynolds told Blackwood, his voice firm but not unkind, nearly caused catastrophic damage to the very fabric of reality. The pursuit of profit led your company down paths that should never have been explored. Some boundaries exist for a reason, Mr. Blackwood. Shadow's ears shifted slightly as he detected the approach of federal transport units coming to take Blackwood into custody. Through the diner's windows, Jack watched as more official vehicles arrived, their presence marking the transition from quantum crisis to legal aftermath. The documentation is complete, Reynolds explained, securing his tablet's classified files. Every experiment, every violation, every breach of ethics and reality, all properly recorded and verified. Your trial will be conducted according to very special protocols, Mr. Blackwood. The nature of your crimes requires unique consideration. Through the restored morning light, Pine Creek began to stir with its usual activity. Tom Mitchell opened his hardware store across the street, unaware of how close reality had come to unraveling. Young Andy Cooper continued his paper route, his world intact thanks to the invisible efforts of Project Echo's specialized teams. "You know what the most interesting thing is?" Jack said, sharing a knowing look with Shadow. "All this started because you underestimated a farmer and his dog. You saw what looked like an easy target and never stopped to consider why we chose this quiet life, why we settled in this peaceful valley." Betty smiled slightly as she refilled coffee cups, remembering the day Jack and Shadow had first arrived in Pine Creek. She'd recognized something special in them then, not just their military background or enhanced capabilities, but their dedication to protecting others, even if it meant hiding their true nature. Project Echo wasn't just about creating enhanced K9 units, Reynolds said, rising from his seat. It was about forming partnerships between handlers and dogs who understood the responsibility that came with their capabilities. Teams willing to stand guard over normal life, protecting others from threats they never even know exist. Shadow's specialized collar powered down to its civilian mode as the quantum crisis reached its final resolution. Through their neural link, Jack felt his partner's readiness to return to their quiet role as guardians of Pine Creek, their extraordinary capabilities once again hidden beneath an ordinary exterior. "Your company's assets," Reynolds informed Blackwood as federal agents approached the booth, "will be used to compensate your victims and fund ongoing containment efforts. The specialized medical care required by the survivors of your experiments will be fully covered. It's not justice exactly, but it's a start." The morning sun painted everything in natural light now, no longer distorted by quantum effects or dimensional anomalies. Through the diner's windows, Pine Creek continued its peaceful routine, its residents unaware of how close they had come. to cosmic catastrophe. You'll be transported to a specialized facility, Reynolds explained, as agents prepared to take Blackwood into custody. A place designed to contain individuals with knowledge of quantum consciousness technology. Your cooperation in helping us understand and prevent similar threats will be strongly encouraged. Betty approached Jack's booth one final time, carrying a fresh pot of coffee. "Another quiet morning in Pine Creek," she said with a knowing smile, understanding the true significance of what had transpired in her diner. Like Jack and Shadow, she knew the importance of maintaining normal life in the face of extraordinary threats. "The thing about quantum physics," Reynolds said, gathering his classified materials, "is that it teaches us how interconnected everything truly is. Every action has consequences, Mr. Blackwood. Your company's experiments threatened that delicate balance. Thanks to Agent Miller and Shadow, that balance has been restored." Through the diner's windows, the specialized teams completed their withdrawal. From Pine Creek, Project Echo's enhanced K9 units performed final security sweeps, confirming that reality itself had been preserved. The quantum crisis was over, the dimensional breaches sealed, the fabric of space-time secure once more. "You know what Iron Maggie used to say about responsibility?" Jack asked, scratching Shadow behind the ears as their extraordinary mission came to an end. "She'd tell us that the greatest power isn't in what you can do, it's in knowing what you shouldn't do, in understanding the importance of maintaining balance rather than disrupting it." The morning sun continued its journey, across the sky, casting ordinary shadows through the Rusty Spoon Diner's painted windows. Outside, Pine Creek returned to its peaceful routine, protected by guardians few would ever know existed, watched over by a farmer and his very special dog who had chosen to make this quiet valley their home. Betty glanced out the window as she refilled Jack's coffee, her eyes catching the distant figures of federal transport units pulling out of Pine Creek. She knew this would be the last time the quiet town would see any of the extraordinary events that had unfolded over the past weeks. For all the dimensional crises and quantum anomalies, Pine Creek would resume its peaceful existence, untouched by the dangers lurking beyond its borders. Jack watched her for a moment, sensing her thoughts through the small pause before she spoke. "You're thinking about what comes next, aren't you?" he asked quietly. Betty met his gaze, her eyes flickering with the understanding that only those who had seen the edges of reality bend and break could fully grasp. "I was just thinking," she said softly, "about how strange it is that life can seem so ordinary when you know it's anything but." Jack nodded, appreciating the weight of her words. "Sometimes that ordinariness is the hardest thing to protect. It's easy to get caught up in the extraordinary, the cosmic threats, the missions that require all you've got, but in the end, it's the quiet that matters." Shadow, ever watchful, looked up at Jack, his eyes reflecting the calm satisfaction of a job well done. The collar that had once hummed with the pulse of quantum resonance now sat silently, as if to mirror the restored peace of Pine Creek. Jack scratched his partner's ears affectionately, and Shadow's tail gave a single contented wag. Reynolds, who had been wrapping up his final notes on the operation, paused near the door before leaving. "It's not often we get a case like this," he said with a wry smile, offering Jack a nod of respect. "You and your team were exceptional." Jack gave him a brief but appreciative smile. "We did what had to be done, but it's not over. There's always the next problem lurking. We just have to keep doing what we do." "You're right," Reynolds replied, "but for now this chapter is closed. Pine Creek is safe, thanks to you and Shadow." Betty, wiping down the counter, looked up and met Jack's gaze once more, a quiet, knowing smile spreading across her face. "You two are a special kind of team," she said. "I think Pine Creek will be just fine." With that, the last of the federal agents departed, leaving behind only the faint echo of their vehicles fading into the distance. The morning sunlight continued its slow climb in the sky, casting soft light over the peaceful streets of Pine Creek, where the only sound was the occasional creak of the diner's door as the regulars came and went, unaware of the cosmic upheaval they'd just narrowly avoided. Jack and Shadow stayed where they were, in their usual booth, as the day continued on, mundane and ordinary. But Jack knew that beneath the surface of every quiet day was a quiet war being fought by people who understood the weight of responsibility, the balance that had to be maintained to keep the world as it was. And in that balance, Jack, Shadow, and now Betty had found their place. As they sat together in that ordinary booth, the only thing that remained of the extraordinary events was the knowledge that their world was safer, at least for now. And as long as they were around, they'd make sure it stayed that way. Maybe it's time for some peace and quiet, Jack said, finally breaking the silence with a half grin, his fingers lightly grazing Shadow's fur. Shadow's ears twitched, and he settled back into a relaxed posture, ready for whatever would come next, his loyalty and focus as sharp as ever, but for now, content to share in the simplicity of the present moment. Betty brought over another cup of coffee, the soft clink of the mug breaking the silence. "Well," she said with a wink, "I think that can wait. There's always room for one more round in the rusty spoon." Jack chuckled, his fingers gently resting on the rim of his coffee cup. He could feel the warmth of the moment settling in, the lingering sense of relief that came after the storm. It was a rare gift, a sense of calm after the chaos, something he hadn't felt in a long while. Shadow, still by his side, shifted slightly, his keen senses scanning the diner as if reassuring Jack that all was well. The dog was always alert, but today he seemed to relax into the rhythm of the town as much as his partner did. There was a knowing between them, unspoken but always understood. They were home. "Well, if I'm going to enjoy one more cup of coffee," Jack said, stretching his legs out under the booth, "it better be with some company who knows how to talk shop." His grin was playful, but there was a real warmth to it, a smile that hadn't been seen often during the intensity of the mission. Betty raised an eyebrow, leaning slightly against the counter. "Oh? And what exactly is shop in your world? Mr. Miller? You know, the usual cosmic disasters, quantum anomalies, hybrid entities, stuff like that," he said with a wink, clearly enjoying the lightness that had returned to the air. She laughed, a sound that felt like a perfect match for the simplicity of the moment. "Well, you're welcome to your coffee and quiet, but if I start talking about multi-dimensional instability, you might just scare off the regulars. They're used to the usual kind of trouble around here, broken lawnmowers and misplaced tools, not time-bending shenanigans." Jack leaned back, the corners of his mouth tugging upward. "Fair enough," he said. "I'll leave the big words to the experts." He glanced out the window, where the last of the specialized vehicles disappeared into the horizon. "But you know, it's strange. We spent so much time chasing down these threats, making sure everything went according to plan, but now that it's all over, it almost feels like it never happened." Betty's eyes softened. "It doesn't surprise me. People get used to normal, even after the world's almost flipped upside down. It's a kind of resilience, I guess." Shadow, sensing the quiet reflection, padded over to Betty's side, his eyes gazing up at her expectantly. She smiled and crouched down to scratch behind his ears, the gesture as natural as breathing. "That dog," she said, almost to herself. "He's something else, isn't he?" Jack watched, his gaze following Betty's movements. "He's more than just something else. He's the reason I've made it this far. He keeps me grounded, keeps me going even when the world seems to be coming apart." Betty met his eyes, and in that simple look, she understood. They'd both been through the same trials, fought the same battles, and seen the same dangers that most would never know existed. And yet, despite all the extraordinary challenges they faced, they still found peace in moments like this. "You both are," Betty said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "I'm not sure how you do it, but I'm grateful you do." Jack gave her a grateful nod. "We just do our job. It's not about looking for recognition or accolades. It's about making sure people like you can go about your day without ever realizing how close they came to losing it all." Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.